What's up, Space Pirates? This is your captain, the certifiably suave Dr. Disaster, and Dragon Age the Veilguard has now been released, and you would think that with all the hubbub about this game, with all the people bragging about the fact that the game has now hit the #1 spot on Steam, you'd think that there would be something to show for it. We have a list here which shows the top Steam games by revenue, and Dragon Age, well, it ain't on there.
Oh no! Anyway,
this tweet comes from the developer of Soul Ash, who is a pretty awesome dude, but he wrote, Top 15 Steam games released in 2024 by estimated revenue. There's a lot of buzz about Dragon Age, but little hype. Steam's followers are less than half of Hades 2's. I don't expect it to do very well. By the way, this list is way better than I thought 2024 releases were. And yeah, I gotta admit, when I look at this list, this year in games was apparently better than I remember. But notice how this list is completely dominated by non-woke games. Gamers have largely crushed that shit this year.
Killing is my business, ladies, and business is good.
And for anyone out there who wants to argue that we have to give Dragon Age some time, the game just came out. May I humbly remind you that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is number 8 on the list here, and it actually came out just a couple weeks ago. So if Dragon Age were actually selling as well and as profitable as these people want to claim that it is, then it sure as hell would have showed up on this list, but it is not there. It would have been, I'm sure, if they had just made a Dragon Age game instead of trying to push their weird shit onto us. But that is what they tried to do, and gamers have largely rejected their nonsense.
Hey, what's that you got on your face?
huh?
Blah, blah, blah! See how that works?
Alright, me hearties, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and also, don't forget to follow me over on Twitter or X, or whatever you want to refer to it as these days. I keep a list on there of games lousy with wokeness pinned to the account at all times for your reference. My handle over there is Dr. Disaster 1. Anyhow, let's talk about this list of games that are the top 15 sellers on Steam, because I find it really interesting what is and what isn't on that list. Dragon Age is one of those games with a franchise attached to it that is simply too recognizable to outright fail. Instead, the game seems destined to wildly underperform. As of the time of this recording, Steam data is not available for the game as far as how many people are playing it. We will take a look at those numbers tomorrow. And remember that Monster Hunter Wilds has its open beta releasing today as well, and I'm very curious to see how that does as long as the data for that game ends up being publicly available. But look at the list here again. The games on the list are not surprising to me in the slightest. Naturally, Black Myth Wukong is at the top of the list with about 19 million copies of the game sold on Steam and $1 billion in revenue. That is mind-blowing how much money they made on that game, and it's funny because all they had to do was just make something that's fun and doesn't preach to us. You'll notice that's kind of a theme of this list here. Helldivers 2 came in second this year with 11.6 million copies sold on Steam and about $427 million in revenue. It's sad how that game has kind of fallen off a cliff after some of the patches that they've put out, nerfing things that people like to do, but there's no doubt about it that this was a massive moneymaker. And then Pal World is number 3. Once again, no surprise there. And then, one of my favorite games of the year is at number 4, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. They sold about 2.5 million copies of that game, and they made over $130 million on Steam alone. Next, we get Dragon's Dogma 2 with just under 2 million copies sold on Steam, but right after that is a game I really wanted to talk about here. The First Descendant is sitting at number 6. This is a simple, free-to-play shooter that I've talked about on this channel many times. It's not my personal cup of tea. I generally never play free-to-play games for a variety of reasons, but there is no denying how successful The First Descendant has been simply because they had a bunch of attractive female characters in their roster that people wanted to play as. And then down a ways at number 11, you'll see that the game Throne and Liberty shows up as well for virtually the same reasons that The First Descendant is doing well. These aren't games that I personally appreciate. These aren't games that I play. I find them a bit boring and repetitive, and generally if it's free to play, I figure there's a very good reason for that, and I assume people get what they pay for. However, once again, you cannot deny that these games are extremely successful. But one game that is not blatantly successful is Dragon Age the Veilguard. The game simply isn't on the list. It's the number 1 spot on Steam right now, yes, and I've been reliably informed by the Dragon Age defenders that this means the game is an unqualified success. But let's be real here. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 hasn't reached this top 15 list as of yet, so I strongly doubt that Dragon Age will crack this list at all. I mean, there are a ton of people buying it because they are completionists, they want to play the next game in the series, and because the game has Dragon Age in the title, and that will make BioWare some of their money back that they invested in Dragon Age the Veilguard, no doubt about it. But after the initial surge of the first few days of release, I fully expect this game to taper off. Because you gotta think, the people who are buying this on impulse because Dragon Age is in the title, those are the same people who are going to buy it right away. They're not going to wait, they're not going to be able to wait. And also, keep this in mind. Sometimes we can glean a lot of information just by paying attention to how people phrase things. Just yesterday, it was noticed that the CEO of EA, the parent company of BioWare, he was quoted as saying that Dragon Age has breakout potential. The key word here being potential, meaning that this game has not broken out yet. So yeah, the number 1 spot on Steam looks impressive, but everything is relative here. Dragon Age is a AAA game with massive IP recognition. There was no way it was ever going to not make the top 10 on Steam, but what it can do is underperform badly, especially considering how much money the company had to spend on production and what they're spending on marketing now. This is potentially a massive turd for them. So yeah, the cultural auto intake crowd, those people who buy games whenever something comes out bearing the name of a franchise they recognize, those people won't be able to help themselves. But in order to compete with the big boys and actually make a return on EA's investment, Dragon Age needed to appeal to a broader audience, which they will fail to do with their gender pronoun crap that they discuss incessantly in the game. But I'm going to leave it there. What do you make of this list of top best-selling games this year from Steam? Drop your thoughts into the comment section below, and we will talk there.
Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your captain is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.